Hello, my name is James Flores and welcome back to my garage. As you can see, I have my iPad over here set to a timer, and that's because we are going to do a battery rundown test. So what are we going to power? We're going to power this 12-volt mini fridge from Amazon. This was about just over $100, 100 Australian dollars. And the reason why I got it was just for use in the car. It's nothing special at all. It's actually quite basic. It's just an insulated box, and it's got one of these fans that cool the whole thing, and it's always running, so it's not that efficient. So as you can see, the cooler box is going to use 46 watts in DC mode or 54 watts in AC mode. We're going to test it in AC mode today with my inverter. So we'll plug this into the AC socket there. The switch is set to AC, and I'll put it to cold in a minute. I'll just quickly re-show you my setup. So we have two 9 amp hour AGM batteries in parallel, and the charge controller is the Batteria Power 10 amp MPPT, which I talked about in a previous video. It's flashing now because it's getting some solar input, but we're going to unplug that because we want to do a discharge test. So I'll unplug that here. Gone. So theoretically, two 9 amp hour batteries in parallel gives me 18 amp hours. So theoretically, two 9 amp hour batteries in parallel gives me 18 amp hours, and 18 amp hours times 12 volts, which is the battery, would give me about 216 watt hours. But I'm not going to discharge them all the way because it's an AGM battery. I'll discharge them to about 30%, which from my calculations is only 151 watt hours. So if my fridge draws about 54 watts on AC, and my 300 watt inverter will also use some of that power to run the thing, by my calculations, it should reach about 2 hours and 50 minutes when I discharge it to 30%, which is almost the safe level. So I'm not going to go below 30%, which is about 12.3 volts. So this is my cheapo inverter. I think it's about 50 to 60 Australian dollars, 4,000 watts. Not true at all. It's 300 watts, if that. Surge to 4,000, I don't think so either. So really budget setup. That's the original PWM charge controller. It's hooked up just to the battery. It's just going to show me the voltage, but it's not actually doing anything but showing me the voltage. Yes, so we're at 13.4 volts. So I'm going to stop when it gets to 12.3 because that's about 30% left in this battery. So we're going to hope for at least 2 hours and 50 minutes of runtime. And I'm going to check in every so often. So what we'll do now is we'll get everything ready. Turn the inverter on. We're on. I'll quickly press the play button on the timer. There we go. So as we're drawing load, the voltage is already going down, which is fine. So it's at 12.7 now. We'll check in every so often and I'll update you on the voltages. So that's running. Fridge is definitely running, the green light's on. There we go. I'll check back in 15 minutes, see where we're at. All right, we are about 15 minutes into the discharge test. Fridge is still running. Let's have a feel of it. Yep, getting colder. And inverter says we're at 12.5 volts. So the charge controller should say about the same, 12.4. Okay, we are now 30 minutes into the discharge test. The bridge is still on, making all the noise it needs to make. Definitely starting to feel colder now. It says it can get to under 15 degrees ambient. Inverter's still going, 12.3 volts. This is the charge controller. Should say the same, yeah, 12.3 volts. We'll check back in 15 minutes again. So I do have a temperature sensor in here. It's 34.4 degrees. And the fridge should, in theory, get to 15 degrees below ambient. So I expect it to be about 20 degrees Celsius, which is still quite warm for a fridge, really. Okay, so I've just opened the app. It says we're at 56%. The voltage of the battery is 12.3 and nothing coming in solar input. Now, I did say I was going to stop at a 12.3 volts because that would get to 30% state of charge, but I think perhaps my math was wrong. So I think we'll just use the app to determine when it gets to 30%, and I will stop the test. So just recapping, my two 9 amp hour AGM batteries theoretically gives me 216 watt hours, but we're only going to use 70% of the capacity, which would bring it down to 151 watt hours, thereabouts. If the fridge consumes about 53 watts, they've also got to take into account the inverter usage and the charge controller, which is minimal. I should get 2 hours and 50 minutes in theory, but we're already over 30 minutes into the rundown test and we're at 56%. Okay, I forgot to come in about 45 minutes, but we're almost an hour into this discharge test. The inverter's still running. It's now showing 12.1 volts. I know I said I would stop at 12.3, but when it was at 12.3, it was about 56% state of charge according to the controller. It's 12.1 here, so 50%. So ideally, I guess if I wait till I'm on that last LED, I can stop the discharge test. That probably gives a better round number. Fridge is still running, and yeah, it's slightly cool. I'll get my thermometer out if I can find it, and I'll let you know what the temperature is. Okay, ambient temperature 35.3. Here, 1 hour, basically 1 hour and 10 minutes into the discharge test. 11.9 volts. Yeah, so I'm gonna cut it here now. I think 11.9 volts. Still says 50%. Everything's still running. Fridge is still running. I'll do a temperature test. So here's the surface temp scanner. 15.7 degrees. We are 1 hour and 8 minutes in to the discharge test at a 42% state of charge at 12 volts. I think I'm going to cut it here just to be safe, and I'll show you what the setup looks like now. So what have I learned today? Well, I've learned that 18 amp hours of battery life powering my fridge, discharging to 30%, has only got me about 1 hour and 12 minutes of real-world runtime. The small win is that the fridge can get to 20 degrees below the ambient temperature instead of the claimed 15 degrees below ambient. Alright, that's it for this video. Let me know what other tests you'd like me to run for the next one. Thank you.